babies can go in the sea. I'm sure that's fine.
How old was she at this point?
6 weeks.
Silence from Midwife Lily. Welcome to Parents You've Got This, We've Got You, the new podcast for brand new parents from Tommee Tippee. I'm Jilly Isabella, a new mum in the thick of it, just like you. Each week, I'm joined by a guest star and a parenting professional. Together, we'll share real stories and expert advice to navigate through pregnancy, the newborn days, and early parenthood. Let's share the highs, the lows, everything in between, no fluff, zero judgment, just real talk. You've got this and we've got you. When it comes to becoming a parent, you quickly find out there's no such thing as normal. Every journey is different because every baby is different. So whether it's how your baby comes into the world, how you choose to feed the baby, or just how you adjust to life in newborn trenches. In this episode, we're talking about the many routes into parenthood, the milestones, the surprises that crop up, and why the best thing that you can do is just trust your instincts and find your own way through it all. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. We've got Raven Smith, writer and brand new father to baby Tibbs, who's just 13 weeks old.
That's true.
Yeah.
Bun is out the oven. Yeah, very happy.
Yeah, and our expert for this show is Midwife Lily. Lily, how long have you been a midwife for?
I've been a midwife for 8 years now.
Wow, what's your favourite part of the job?
I just love supporting families to increase their confidence and just lay the best foundations where they're in tune with their instincts and ready to be parents.
Lovely. You're also a mum as well, so you can speak from experience on that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, you've got 3 babies, right?
3, yeah.
Well, how exciting to have you guys. Raven, I'm very excited to get into this.
Okay.
Because
Drum roll. Yeah.
you haven't got the traditional approach to parenthood because you've actually went through surrogacy,
Yes.
which I think our listeners are going to be so intrigued to hear all about, because it is, I think, something that you just kind of see and hear of. Maybe Kim K did
Yes.
it, and it's something that's not maybe as known as the traditional.
Yeah, I would assume that with surrogacy, a lot of people find out about it as it's announced as a birth. And there are a lot of moving parts going into it, all of which, it's like throwing a lot of balls in the air, juggling, and just trying to catch them all. But on the whole, it's been a pretty good experience. We decided to go via Mexico City as our surrogacy route to find a surrogate. Made embryos on Harley Street in London, ooh la la. And
Very bougie of you.
Yeah, and then this one man's job as the courier is to carry, like Jurassic Park, like carry a cooler of your embryos on a plane on his lap.
I'd imagine a very qualified role, though. It's not like your DHL drivers.
Who knows? It could be an every driver in a nice suit.
Yeah.
We flew out a week before the due date and met with our surrogate and my daughter in her stomach.
It's quite a long process, surrogacy.
I reckon they matched us with a surrogate within about 6 months.
Okay.
They won't take you if you don't already have embryos. It was about a year for us for that to happen. We've been very lucky in most stages of our journey that there's been no major hiccups in terms of egg retrieval being fine, making three healthy embryos from the first round of trying to do that, the insemination happening, like the baby taking, is that what we call it? The insemination is what it's called, but like the embryo taking first time. It's probably about 18 months start to finish, and a lot of kind of mental prepping and saving money as a gay couple in order to afford to even get to the beginning of that 18 months. Yeah.
So your reason for surrogacy, you're in a same-sex marriage,
Yes.
and so that was the route for you. There's adoption, there's surrogacy, but also, Lily, I think there's a rise in surrogacy for single people that maybe don't want to wait for the relationship, or if you're a woman, you can't carry a baby yourself. So it's actually opened a door to a lot of people that maybe before once thought they wouldn't be able to become parents.
Yeah, for sure, massively. I think things have changed a lot in recent years.
So I've got a million questions for you.
Do, please, because the thing is, when you're in the trenches of having a baby, you're like, it's very hard to think in very long stretches. But if you ask me questions, the answers just pour out.
It's survival. It's survival
My retrieval
day
is
to
still
day.
there.
Yeah. So my first question then, if we're going right back to it, you've chosen an agency. How did we land on Mexico instead of, say, the UK or the States or Australia?
It's illegal to pay for surrogacy here in the UK, so you can pay expenses for a surrogate who has come forward out of benevolence just because she wants to have a baby for a stranger and then get matched that way. So there's a much smaller pool of surrogates, and you can't really compensate them in a proper way, in my opinion. America is a completely different kettle of fish. Like a lot of the medical system there, it is about purchasing commodities. It's quite aggressive what is expected of a surrogate there. I think there is much more of a sense that you are hiring someone's body and a lot more ownership rather than collaboration. And I felt that, having read about the Mexico pathway, it felt much more like we were compensating someone really, really generously, fairly, for a collaborative effort between the three of us. I mean, and the egg donor, so the four of us. So it felt much less icky in every sense of the word.
It felt more natural for you, and
yeah,
you got to know the surrogate on like what kind of level. Like, how did you chat to them before on Zoom? Or?
We met on Zoom with a translator, and then we were texting kind of every other day. Not that much before she got pregnant, and then pretty much every day once she was pregnant.
And you said you flew over there for the birth. How organised are we for that? Because I'm assuming that it wasn't a spontaneous birth that she went into then, so it was a planned...
It was a planned C-section, her choice. It was basically right up until kind of 29 weeks. I was waiting for her to make a decision about what she wanted for her birth. Obviously, I really wanted her to have a cesarean because it just means the planning is so much easier for us flying out there and accommodation, etc., etc. But I just was really wary of steering her in any way about what she wanted for her birth. What's really strange is that we know her quite well, pretty well. We've been talking every day for 9 months, maybe nearly a year. And the first time I met her was, an hour before she went into surgery. So it's the first time I met her in the flesh. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Let's go have a baby together.
I've seen all the scans of your insides, but nice to meet you your outsides. Yeah. You're in such a state of apprehension and about just having a baby anyway. And then you have this new relationship, this new first time meeting. And I was saying to the doctor there, does this happen all the time? And he was like, we do this, 3 times a day. Someone comes and meets their surrogate and then they go to surgery. And I was like, this is modern.
That's almost quite nice though to know that for such a unique experience, you do have a tribe out there that has went through it as well, because there is also a cost involved with it. It's such a privilege to be able to have did that.
Yeah, we met a few in Mexico City who they had a 10-week-old pair of twins. They will put you in touch with all kinds of people that are at some point in that journey, which is really reassuring. Having never had a baby before, never done surrogacy before, I've been to Mexico before, so that was a help.
Do you know, that's something that I never thought about, with your baby being born in Mexico but then being brought back to the UK. So she's going to have a dual passport then. You
apply for a Mexican passport, you can do that at 3 weeks. You can apply for a British passport at 6 weeks, and a British passport can take up to 6 weeks. So it's about 3 months is the expectation. Long before you're matched with any surrogates in Mexico City, they're like, it's about 3 months to get you home.
Okay.
So I was expecting the long haul.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting how tricky it is to be away from anything familiar in your life for 3 months. That for me was more of the head scratcher.
And it is such a wild ride, those early days as well. So doing that away from home comforts, I can imagine could have been a big challenge.
Or just like a third pair of trousers, which I didn't pack.
I hope that you were in some kind of Airbnb that had a washing machine and tumble dryers so you could wash your stuff.
The first one did, yes.
Yeah. And then we moved. Yeah. So I want to go back then, all the way back to when you were doing your eggs and your sperm retrievals. Yeah. You're in a same-sex relationship. How did you decide whose sperm you were going to use?
I thought it was fine to mix them together, but it turns out that's not what they want you to do.
Science doesn't back it up.
No, very confusing for the eggs to be bombarded with two men's semen.
Who do we choose?
Yeah. It's always been felt like a biological imperative for me to continue to gestate in some way. So definitely the first baby was going to be biologically mine. Okay. It just really was. We didn't really discuss it.
It just felt natural that was.
Yeah, and I said to my husband, how do you feel about seeing your genetics move on? And he was just like, I'm not bothered.
Okay.
He has changed his mind since we're both looking at my mum in our arms and my child's face. So I went to Harley Street to give my deposit. which was, technically the first time I met my daughter.
See you soon.
Yeah.
Good luck in there.
Yeah. Go to a great
Swim
university.
fast.
I hope you get your first choice university. We approached just a normal egg bank, and my husband sent pictures of himself to them, and they picked a donor egg that looked like him.
That looked like him.
Allegedly.
Okay. But you can go really deep into how specific you can pick, like their eye color, their hair color, their IQ.
Yeah.
It can become like quite dystopian almost.
Yeah. The thing is, it's really funny because I care so much about having kids, but none of this, it all was just this like noise. I'm not a perfectionist by nature, so I was just like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think I was quite excited because they say we'll send you a sketch of the person.
Wow.
Right? Very exciting. Turns out a sketch is just like a CV. It's just a list of everything they've done. And I was like, right, I was thinking of
You
like
were
a
expecting like
spirit
an
drawing of this
illustration
lady.
a caricature of
Yeah, and I think if you go to Sperm Bank, you can ask for a picture of the man as a child. But who knows? Yeah. I was so excited downloading the sketch, and I was like, I can't wait to see this pastel-y picture of the biological mother of my children.
Hope they're a good artist.
And it was like, where's she studying?
And so you had a planned C-section.
Yes.
How was that experience for you? Like, take us back through the actual birth.
I don't think I'm alone in finding the birth one of the most surreal experiences of my entire life to date. Apart from I was in absolutely zero amount of pain. We arrived at the hospital. We met with our surrogate. She went to be prepared for theatre. And then my husband and I were sitting in like a sort of holding room in Mexico. And I think it's the same in the UK. You're only allowed to have one birthing partner in the room with you.
Okay.
So my husband was absent for the actual physical birth. I scrubbed in like an episode of ER, went through, and the surrogate, I don't know if this is too revealing, but she was having a lovely time.
Wonderful.
She was like, hey! And I was like, these
the drugs were hitting.
These 4 people are cutting you open. And she's like, hi! So she was having a peach of a time. And it's a very short amount of time that you're allowed into a C-section. So I went in, it smelled a bit of burning flesh. I told you this earlier.
Yeah.
They cauterized the...
Like a diathermy machine. It's quite like a distinct smell.
Yeah.
Which if you've been pulled off the street and straight into was probably quite a shock.
It was a bit of a shocker. It's so surreal having a kid. And I just think there is no part of your educational research that can prepare you for just looking down at your child from looking down at a plump stomach. It is just a completely different kettle of fish.
Did you have the screen up or could you see everything?
I could see over. They were playing some tunes. So my daughter was born to the Pet Shop Boys, which I would have chosen had I been choosing
It was on brand for you.
But it just happened to be on that.
For our listeners with C-sections, if that's maybe something that they're considering to explore, things like having the screen up, having the screen down, what is the experience of having a planned C-section or even an emergency section like?
Yeah, it's so important to plan for with your own preferences, just like any birth, whether you'd like to have the screen up, whether you'd like to really see what's going on, whether you'd like to try and get some photos like it sounds like you did, if you'd like to have delayed cord clamping, optimal cord clamping, if you'd like baby to come straight skin to skin with you, all those kinds of preferences. It really helps to personalise and make that experience.
Yeah. And Raven, you did skin to skin?
I did, but not in the operating theatre.
Okay.
They had the little like dentist's hoover for her lungs and then she was breathing. But I have a lot of pictures where she's quite clearly not fully born yet. Just lying there and they're like putting oxygen into her.
Yeah.
On reflection, a very can be a quite scary time, but not something I felt at the time.
Yeah, and you know what? That's something that people often don't realise about elective cesareans is this little baby's essentially been in their mind in their own business.
Yeah.
And she's been plucked out. And where we go through the birth canal and often those fluid gets squeezed from our lungs, which simulates that first breath, it can take a little bit longer to do that with a cesarean, particularly in elective. And often a little bit of air is given into a baby's lung.
Yeah, apparently it's really normal. And it's
the first time I've heard it. I had a vaginal birth, so I had like the initial screaming like the movies, like the baby cried right away. I never knew that with C-sections it was delayed like that.
Not always, but it just can be.
It can happen. I suppose just knowledge is power, isn't it? It's like going into a labour, knowing all the things that can happen.
You can expect that, and it's okay. Yeah.
I look back on pictures of my wee girl and she's grey, and I was thinking, why are you the colour of a zombie?
Yeah.
Like, when does the colour come in? I was like, are you going to have jaundice because I need this colour of grey to be drained from your body? But so you did skin to skin, but not in the theatre.
No, they let me carry her. They took her over to the surrogate to like just have a chat, and I stood politely because I just felt like that was their moment.
Of course,
been looking after my baby for so long. And then they took me down the hall to like, I don't know, some kind of dad wing. And the guy, they were like, tear off your robes, like He-Man, Superman. And then the baby was on me.
And when you did that, did you feel an instant connection? What was your feelings?
No, I think you are just so ready as a man to be like flooded with emotion that is in some ways overwhelming. That's what I was waiting for at the time. And I was just like, hi. There's a feeling of inevitability. This is what all the fuss is about. This is what it was. This was always meant to be, but there was something that wasn't like, I'm gone crazy.
Do you think perhaps a little bit like underwhelming?
I would say whelming, right on the line, not under or over. I was like, I am
just
whelmed.
The perfect,
which is not what people want to hear.
Amount of balance. But I think you are sold so much that like you have this overwhelming love and this connection, and it's instant. And if you don't experience that, there might be a sense of guilt or a sense of like, is there something wrong with me? But it's quite normal, Lily, that there's not that instant connection.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to remember that, because as somebody giving birth, if you don't feel that, there is nothing wrong, especially if you've been through like a particularly long labour or a hard labour. I fully believe women leave their bodies when they're in labour. They're doing what they've got to do. And perhaps that might take a little bit longer for you to come sort of back to yourself. I know I experienced that myself, and I also experienced that overwhelming love. So
you can do all the prep that you want to, but there's nothing that truly prepares you for
just
it.
Pause, just wait. You know, it doesn't take a minute. Catch your breath.
Yeah,
and
give yourself some grace.
It's just so surreal to be a person who doesn't have a child and then be a person that does have a child. And a voice in my head was going, are you feeling what you're meant to be feeling? But the answer was not quite. I'm just in the moment. And it took a couple of days. Obviously, I was completely like, felt a protective urge and was in love, but I wasn't feeling like giddy. And I was expecting to feel really giddy.
Yeah. And so you've went over to Mexico. What is the prep like for going to Mexico? Like, was your baggage allowance enough to take everything that you needed to take?
Yes. So the agency there lends you a few things. They lend you a milk maker, they lend you a bath, and they lend you a crib. So that they are three kind of bulky items you really don't want to transport across the Atlantic. And they advise you to bring a buggy. So it's very weird packing up a load of baby stuff in your house when you don't have a baby or live with someone who's pregnant. Also
crazy to travel across the world, just you and your husband, and then come back with a baby.
Yes. Yeah. Who you can't book on the flight because they don't exist on the way out. I was like, we're returning with a baby. And they're like, what's the baby's passport number? And I was like, right.
They're not here yet. I'll get back to you.
This person doesn't exist yet.
Yeah,
right.
I'll get
Gotcha.
back to you on that.
Another existential crisis for me.
So prep wise then, what were you preparing? I could imagine with like milk, was formula.
In Mexico, they're quite regimented in what they do for the baby. So they start them on one of the brands of milk in Mexico. They do their own nappies, yada, yada, yada. So the plan was to keep her on the Mexican milk and then transition her, but just before we came home, so she wasn't landing with a dicky tummy. But we tried to transition her 2 weeks ago, and it was so ugly. We just went back to the main milk again. I was like, I think I'd rather just import Mexican milk for the rest of our childhood.
That seems a lot easier. But of course the ingredients would be different, the Mexican milk to the milk that we would get here.
Yeah, and a lot of babies don't react at all if you change the
milk. It's
like
a therapist. It takes you a wee while to find a therapist that you like. It takes a wee while for the baby to find the milk that suits them.
She's sticking with her Mexican roots.
She's keeping the Mexican milk for a little while because I can't do nappies like that.
Fair. Lily, with feeding, it looks different for all different parents. With you guys, you couldn't breastfeed, but you can get donated breast milk as well, which is something that I never knew. I actually never realised that until I was leaving the hospital with my baby, and I just seen donated milk banks over here. That's an option for people if they don't want to go down the formula route.
Yeah, definitely.
But everything looks different for all different parents. And you said that you have this term, fed is best, and I love that because I think it takes a lot of the guilt out of people, because sometimes it could say, you know, breast milk is the way you should do it, but it's different for everybody.
Totally, but I think it's really important to have those options, and particularly if you're going through a surrogacy journey in the UK, we've got such amazing breast milk resources now that if you did want to go down that route, that is an option as well as formula.
My surrogate did send some frozen colostrum in an Uber to us in a fridge box. Yeah.
Well,
we had it in the freezer.
Yeah.
So we were using that as well as the...
Did she have that to begin with then?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's also lots of benefits, even if you don't breastfeed, just giving that colostrum as that initial feed. So it's sort of one of the first things in the gut that's really beneficial. So even if you don't do it long term, that sounds like another nice option.
Yeah.
And just to touch on what colostrum actually is, just for maybe someone that's out there that hasn't quite got to, because there's just so much to learn. I remember when I was pregnant, I was like, there is so much information out there, and it's almost as if each stage of pregnancy you learn a new thing.
Yeah.
So if someone's maybe at that stage now where they can start harvesting colostrum, what does that process actually look like?
So colostrum is a really small volume of milk that's really energy dense, and it's typically the milk that comes first when your baby's first born, and also at that final trimester, those final weeks in pregnancy. Often people tend to express a little bit of colostrum. You can do from 36 weeks regularly, and you can keep that in the fridge or the freezer and give that to baby when they're born.
Yeah, they call it liquid golds. I remember when I was harvesting mine, and it was liquid gold because it comes out in drops. There's hardly any of it.
Wow.
And I had this little syringe, and I was syringing this like 0.000 colostrum, and I was like, is she ever going to take this?
Yeah. Which for you, especially getting these little syringes, probably seemed a bit like, what's all the fuss about it?
Yeah.
Because it is such small volumes, but it's so densely packed.
Yeah. You had a doula to give you some tips before you headed out. What was your experience with your doula?
My experience of being pregnant was a lot of denial, especially not living with someone who was impregnated by me. About 10 days before we flew to Mexico City, we finally managed to get on a call with our doula, and it was just like, it was heaven.
Yeah.
It was so reassuring.
Yeah.
She was working already with 3 couples in Mexico City trying to get...
That's great.
That's really cool. So she knew exactly how to explain what you needed to expect.
And she was like, only one of you is allowed in the birth, so just you have to know that. And other people didn't know that going in. So I think we really had our eyes open to like what we were walking into and what we were.
Yeah, that sounds really useful.
Yeah, it was really great. And it was also a huge sigh of relief, but she was also saying stuff like, I know you don't really want to hear about changing a nappy. It's too surreal for you right now. So you just need to call me once the baby's there, and then we can just do it on a video call.
It's things with changing nappies though, and you know, like making up the first bottles that seem so heavy, but when the baby comes, your instincts just kick in, and changing a nappy isn't actually that scary.
No,
it's fine.
The first 10 days are a little bit, how do I describe it? A baptism of fire. And
ripping the Band-Aid off.
You just are thinking about everything all the time. You're really tired. I've never been a dad before. She's never been a baby before.
You're all winging it.
Yeah, we're all winging it.
We're all figuring each other out.
Have very high expectations. Yeah. I mean, essentially, oxygen is the main one. Let's just keep that. Let's start at the beginning.
Oxygen and milk.
Yeah.
Yep,
but once we hit 10 days, it's Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Every 3 hours, you're doing the same thing, and the baby's doing the same thing, and it's like there's something really comforting.
We're in this now,
Yeah, there's something really nice at the 2 week mark when you're like, I thought this stuff was going to be much more of a chore or much harder, or I thought the lack of sleep would be too much, but you're just in this the bubble is just
you're in a bubble, you're running on adrenaline, and I think there is so much to be said for the instincts just kick in, and all these things that seemed like so daunting before just becomes like second nature to you. So if there anyone is listening that has that worry, don't worry, because the instincts will kick in. Yeah,
and also all the things you think are gross aren't gross. My husband really loves the poo.
That's a humbling moment, that is, isn't it?
He's like always reporting back from the poo, and I'm like, me and my baby made a little secret deal that she would only do full nappies for him. So I'm a wee nappy kind of guy.
Do you remember your first experience with that very first poo?
No.
Nobody told me about that first poo, Lily. You could probably touch on this. It's like black tar. I thought new babies a wee turd would come out. I didn't realise that for the majority, until they're on solids, it's like runny poo.
Yeah. And you'd almost, I think some people actually even think like, is there something wrong? This isn't normal, but it is so normal. Yeah. That first poo is like meconium, like a bit like Marmite, like that really tarry, sticky texture, which isn't that much like poo at all, so it's fine, really.
It's not. When I first opened it, I thought, oh my God, what's wrong with my baby? Why is she pooing black tar? But it's completely normal. There's so much like unknown in parenthood and in the labour that I think going into it, if you can have as much knowledge as possible, it kind of takes that fear out of it a wee bit. Like having flexibility and knowing all the different things that can happen, that's where I found my control.
Yeah, when you found your power.
Yeah, and there's so many free resources as well. Gosh, like YouTube's incredible, all the socials are great. There's loads of free content out there that you can educate yourself on it. Podcasts?
Yeah, YouTube is...
Podcasts.
Oh, podcast.
You can listen here, guys, and tell you everything that you need to know.
I feel like the like TikTok burping really saved my life.
TikTok burping saved my life. I actually remember there was like 3 a.m. me and my husband were up and I'm on TikTok and I thought, wow, my whole baby is being raised on TikTok. Yeah. And I thought, what did my mum and dad do before? Like, were they getting books out at 3 a.m. with a torch and being like, how do I burp my baby? Yeah. That must have been harrowing in the 90s.
They say to you in all these books or when you have these meetings, you'll understand the difference between a cry when she's wet, a cry when she's hungry, a cry. And I was like, never. As if. Never. Who understands that? I can't wait for that to kick in. But just that first moment of like, this is really my intuition and it's right. It's like, oh, it's so satisfying.
It's so validating to be like, do you know what? No, I have actually got this. I know my baby.
Yeah. Do you know what though as well? I'm all for intuition. Like that is totally my thing. But I would also say it's the power of observation too. Yeah. So if you feel worried that you haven't got that, actually just slowing down and pausing and focusing on your baby and what's happening and taking things in. When we get into those panic modes, that is what it eradicates, that sort of ability to think. So just slowing down and being in tune with their needs, you know.
I also think you just have to know that babies cry. Like you can't stop your baby from ever crying.
Do you know what? My mum actually said that, Raven, because at the beginning I kept thinking, right, okay, why is she crying? There must be a reason for this. Does her bum need changed? Does she need fed? What's wrong with her? And my mum said, Jilly, sometimes babies just cry. Yeah. And I actually think there's a little bit of peace in that, knowing that I've did everything for the baby. Sometimes I just need to be there for a cuddle.
Just be present, pop them skin to skin, do whatever you need to in that minute,
My daughter last night, that would not have worked, sadly, because she was going crazy.
She was having a moment. Yeah.
She's just come back from Mexico City, so I basically put her to bed in the middle of her afternoon instead of in the evening.
Of course, it's jet lagged. Of course,
I'm hoping she's just jet lagged.
Hoping this isn't the sleep routine.
It's like she's like, why did you put me to bed at 4 p.m? I'm not ready to sleep.
She's reaching that age, I guess, where she's now like 12, 13 weeks, where she's starting to communicate a bit more. It's not all just about eat and sleep.
No, she loves to chat. Yeah. She just loves to chat
She's
back.
chatty again.
Yeah. It's really nice.
Yeah, I'm at this stage now where a cry isn't to communicate something like your food or bum. It's that she's bored and that she's like, why are you not paying attention to me? I'm bored on this playmat. Now I want you to move here. It's nuts how much they change week on week. Yeah. I remember before I became a mum, I used to think, oh, your baby's not 18 months. Like it's a year. Like what are you talking about? Like your baby's 3 months. They're not how many weeks, but they change so much from week to week that now I understand that so much.
I had 4 days away from my baby and I can see the difference. It's a bit of a stabbing pain to be like, oh, I've just missed.
Yeah. But they grow so much, so they can have growth spurts through the night. So see if you put your baby to bed and then the next morning you think, oh my God, you look different. They actually have changed through the night because they grow so quick. Is that right, Lily?
Well, when you're talking about a baby of that age, it's such a small time frame. It's such a huge portion of their life. So this sort of continual progression of their development is constant, isn't it?
Yeah. She's definitely can pay better attention than she could 5 days ago, and that's really weird.
Maybe that's just because she's really switched on, because she's like, what on earth is going on? Yeah.
I'm like, good night, and she's like, it's lunchtime.
Is this London?
So we're at our segment now where we are asking you to voice note us something that you're going through, and we can ask our expert some tips on it. So we've got Ellie from London, and she's got a question on sleep.
Hi guys. So I have a 3-week-old at home who is currently waking multiple times a night. She is bottle fed, but we also have 2 other children who are 6 and 3 who also like to wake up multiple times in the night. So any advice on how to settle them before bedtime? Thank you.
Do you know, I'm going through a sleep regression with Winnie right now, so this is perfect for me. I need all the sleep tips.
So I am somebody with 3 children, all of whom don't sleep through, despite 2 of them being at school. So solidarity on that one.
Power to you.
So in that respect, I can tell you, I have tried everything and it ain't happening. It's all swings and roundabouts. We've had times that have been harder, times that have been easier. So you just have to kind of go with emotions. With 3 children that age, I would guess there's probably somewhat of a settling in period. At times it can feel like perhaps the older ones might be waking because they require a bit more from you because you're maybe caught up with the younger ones. I would just say, be kind to yourself, keep going. And this is why it's so important to have some time for yourself, because that mum job does feel like a 24/7 at times battle, doesn't it? So make sure you get those moments for you, because it's tough going.
Yeah, it is. And I think that is the hardest thing I would say about parenthood, is the sleep and adjusting to the sleep. But just knowing in that moment that it's just a moment in time, it will pass. Something that really helped me, because they refer to it as a sleep regression.
Yeah.
But after these regressions comes these big, wonderful moments that they've learned this big new skill. So kind of like just help me get through like the multiple times that my wee baby Winnie's waking up, and like it's not a regression, it's a progression.
Yes.
And once she's through this, she's going to have learned this wonderful new skill, whether it's she's saying goo-goos and gagas, or like she's rolling on her front, and it'll be that such rewarding moment as a parent that you're like, oh my God, my baby's developing. Totally. I think I found that wee pocket of peace to make me be like, right, okay, you're up at 3 a.m, you've been up 6 times, but you're going to develop.
Babies are designed to wake up frequently. It's a protective mechanism for us as mammals. So, you know, just kind of have to roll with it. You get more used to it. What can I say?
You just have to accept tiredness. It's not something you should be trying to escape from.
It's
like,
part and parcel of being a parent. You're going to be tired. And what I will say as well, if you're pregnant just now, or you're listening and your partner's pregnant, the lack of sleep, you adjust to it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a 2-hour
really
sleep,
do.
I can take on the world if I've slept
Absolutely.
2 hours.
Yeah.
So you do grind it out. You can get through it.
And while I can say, you know, have those nighttime routines, have that lovely bath stuff, chill out, do the baby massage, all of that's wonderful, and absolutely go for that. But what I'm not about is making people feel under pressure to do anything, because when it stops sort of being fun and enjoyable for you as a family is when it becomes tricky. But absolutely, if you think it's nice to have that chilled evening, that massage, do those stories, all of those things are all going to help.
So, Raven, you're a writer. The book that you've wrote is about identity and masculinity. So I'm just intrigued to know how you think that writing process, and then also just the awareness of that, how that impacts you as a father, and how you think you're going to carry yourself through parenthood.
Interesting. Good question. I'm trying to work out how this has impacted my masculinity. I think for me, I've always felt like I'm mixed raised. I'm not straight. I'm 6'5", which is less of a kind of institutional problem. But I have always felt like some on the periphery in many situations. Like, all of my friends are women, but I'm not a woman, and I fancy men, but I am also a man. So I've always been a bit of an outsider, and not in a sad way. And I think what that has let me believe in myself is that I don't need to kind of follow suit with what the norm is in any situation. So I guess, has my masculinity been changed by being a dad? Maybe, because the dynamic in my relationship, there's no division of labour along gendered lines coming into parenthood. So there hasn't really been one within having the baby. We both want to do it, both of us. There's no sort of expectation on what one of us should do, and the other one doesn't need to do so much.
It's interesting that you said about the no gendered roles, because you are in a same-sex relationship. So I do wonder then, how does the responsibilities go? I suppose whoever's at home more, or whoever goes back to work. Yeah,
I think my understanding of like very early straight parenthood, for want of a better way to describe it, is that the mum has been through a really big physical exhausting experience, and somebody needs to feed her so she can feed the baby. I mean, that is essentially those early trenches are a lot of that. And I also think, men, it does take a little while for it all to really click into place. I'm sure it does for women, even when it's growing inside you. I heard women just get lots and lots of advice when they're out with their babies, and men don't. People just say well done to them. Oh, you're holding a baby, well done. Really close friends have given me advice about stuff, but when I'm asking about bottle feeding and they're like, I have no idea how much I fed my daughter when I fed her from my breast. So I was like, well, she's on 40 mil, she's on 4 ounces, but it's saying 3 ounces in the book. And they were like, we don't know. I have no idea what came out of me in the night feed. They have been really, really helpful. And I think it is important to try and find people that have been through it and are like, this just people who say this is normal actually is really
it's
helpful.
like your personal Google. I think you can Google all the things, search all the TikTok videos, listen to all the podcasts, but sometimes the best advice that you can get are from friends that have been through it. Yeah,
I'm lucky that I'm not kind of inundated with advice or a sense that I'm underperforming. I don't know why this is. Something happened, I was quite stressed about getting pregnant in, a year before it happened. And I was very militant about, this is where I want my career to be. This is the next book I want to have finished by the time. Like I was very structured. Something just, the bottom fell out of it for some reason. And nearly everything that's happened from getting pregnant is like, que sera, sera. Yeah. Whatever will be, will be.
I love that.
It's so relaxed. And I honestly thought my biggest worry as someone who, my mum was is an anxious-ish woman. She's going to listen to this, but yes, she would agree to that. And my grandma definitely was. I was just waiting and waiting and waiting to become very anxious and very worried about looking after a human life. And it's just felt like...
Sort of flowed.
Yeah. I'm whelmed, I told you. But I'm not, I would hate to be feeling overwhelmed a lot of the time. And I would be really anxious about being underwhelmed. So there is just feeling like this is the natural progression. We're going to hang out. As long as I endeavour to stay present and to be resilient, that's kind of where I want to be.
It's not a one size fits all, is it? Just go with it. Everyone do your own thing.
Yeah, it's also really hard to be patient and resilient when you have not slept.
Yeah, and nobody teaches you patience quite like a newborn.
Yeah.
So you touched a wee bit there on just your career and where you wanted your career to be.
Yes.
Do you feel now that Tibbs is here, you have this desire and this rush to get back to work, or you want to be really present? Like, how are you going to approach that work-life balance? Have you even thought of that? She's only 13 weeks.
Well, 2 things. One thing is I'm really lucky that my career, like writing about yourself and talking about your feelings on the written page, is a really vocational thing for me. And stopping writing, I wasn't homesick. I was living in Mexico City, but I got work sick at about 6 weeks. I was like, there's part of my brain that is like
needs exercising.
Yeah, that is really feeling like it's something's wrong in my my humours feel off because I'm using
that is who you are as a person, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. Where you place a lot of your identity in your work, where that's took a back seat and you've always been used to work. Yeah, there is probably like a little like question mark above your head, who am I? Almost this like identity crisis, which you do hear a lot with mums, because they obviously go through the pregnancy, the physical body changes and the mental aspects as well. But it's so interesting to hear that dads do experience that as well. Yeah.
The thing is, you've been through this massive act of creation, and I was like, I need to make something. I need to create something. I think managing her alongside the career is going to be part of the fun. One of the regrets of Mexico City is that you're desperate to as parents of a surrogate baby across an ocean away from familiar friends and family and all that stuff. You're actually you get really desperate to integrate your baby into your life and see how that's actually going to play out.
Yeah. Your husband, is he going back to work full time with it not being gendered roles? I'm just interested to see how you will balance that.
Yeah, he is going to go back to work full time, and I'm freelance. What happens a lot before you have a baby is you do so many things in theory, and I was like, the second we're all home, we can actually work out how bad it is to do a night and then go and do a day in the office. Like, is that just
impossible?
Out of
question.
Yeah. And I was like, we're going to get stuck philosophizing about how it's going to feel or how it can play out. We just need to go and put it into practice. Because I'm a freelancer and my work can be sporadic, but I'm a Vogue columnist, so I know every Wednesday I have to write my column. We will get childcare to cover a proportion of it. I'm going to do some of it. My husband's going to do some of it. I don't know, like I say, que sera, sera.
Yeah, it's just whatever you feel comfortable, whatever naturally comes to you, that's just how you approach it.
I think there will be days when I have childcare and no work. And I keep thinking this is a bad thing, but then I'm like, wait, I've got to nurture my... I've got to nurture my creative brain.
Yeah, you need that break, and it isn't something that you need to feel guilty about. A lot of the time, this is probably drawn from my experience as a mum, is that even if I'm really lucky, I've got a lot of granny and grandparents for Winnie around, so that's essentially our childcare. Even if it's just that a granny pops round and takes Winnie out a walk and I just have an hour sitting on the couch, that time for me is so important. So that when Winnie comes back, a pocket of peace, so that when Winnie comes back, I feel as if I'm recharged, I'm ready to go again, and I'm the best mum that I can be for Winnie.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't feel guilty about that. I mean, I was awful for that. My oldest is nearly 7 now, and I'm on that. But it took a while.
Yeah.
But I can see how much better I feel for it.
Yeah, it's a real thing. You play with it. Like, am I present enough? But then I also need this break for myself as well. And then it's wanting to get back to your so to say normal life before the baby was here. And then like, why am I rushing back to get to that? Like, I'm never going to have this time again. Yeah. But it's like you said, que sera, sera. I like that.
I think you can get stuck in a mindset of like getting back to your old self, and that is something that I'm just not I'm trying to not do.
Honestly, probably one of the hardest pills to swallow is that doesn't exist anymore.
No, and they say matrescence, that's quite like a popular buzzword now, isn't it? That's the period of becoming a mum and sort of getting back to a level of yourself. And that takes about 7 years or something, they say.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Lily, I don't have 7 years. What do you mean?
Well, it's about going with it, isn't it? Figuring out, like, you're not really who you were before, and actually getting comfortable with that and finding the new you, whatever that's going to be, you know.
Yeah, finding the beauty in it. I definitely think that becoming a parent it puts you through it, but I think you definitely come out it like caterpillar to a butterfly. Like, you're this new beautiful person, you've got this new approach in life, and everything just seems so minuscule compared to raising the wee baby. But also in the same tone, if you aren't loving it and there are the hard days, that's also so normal as well. I think sometimes you will probably see like maybe also a wee bit of toxic positivity with parenting.
Absolutely.
The days are hard, and if you are struggling, it's completely normal.
Yeah.
Postpartum rage, nobody mentions it. That's really normal. It's hard.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I know what the words mean, but like, how does it manifest?
Well, maybe you're absolutely shattered. You've been trying to wash the same load of washing for about 3 days now and still not managed to get it out on the line. Yeah. And there's just something that's the final straw. You know, it's okay to feel this isn't all that great. This isn't what I signed up to.
Yeah, I remember one of the first night feeds that I was doing, and I'm breastfeeding, so in the early days before I was pumping as well, all the night feeds were on me, and I remember looking over at my husband who was fast asleep and he was snoring and his breath smelled, and I thought in that moment I could actually punch you in the face. I don't think we're going to make this.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, what is the point in those useless nipples of yours? Like, what have you even got them?
Why
like,
you
could they
got
not
them?
be a dummy or something? Like,
she just wants make use of those nipples.
Contact. Yeah.
What is the point of those nipples?
Brilliant. I honestly remember thinking that. Like, what is the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good point.
Okay, we are in our no time to think segment of the show. This is just some quick fire questions for you, Raven.
Nothing like a quick fire round on a baby brain. Let's go.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this one, I'm so keen to know, how did you land on the name Tibbs?
Oh, good question. Okay, my name is Raven Anthony Smith, and there's something about having a name that is like a party at the front and business at the back. It literally... People are aware of you the second you walk into a room. I wanted my wow, so quick fire of me. I wanted my baby to have a name that no one else had heard before but wasn't daft. And Tibbs is actually the name of a fictional detective played by Sidney Poitier in an Oscar-winning movie, and he is the first black man to win an Oscar.
Love that.
Win Best Actor.
Yeah, wonderful. Any unsolicited advice that you've been given?
Masses of it, but from people who aren't parents in my DMs. I once did like an ironic I had the Tommee Tippee camera and the baby was behind me and I could see the back of my hair. And I was like, is this what my hair looks like from the back? Obviously, an ironic lol statement about vanity in a time where vanity is forgotten, left to the wind. And this girl was like, stop being so vain, you're a father now. And I was like, woo! Is that
Fathers,
advice?
we can't joke anymore. We're not allowed to have fun.
No, we're not allowed to
there.
have anything out.
Yeah.
I think people that aren't parents just don't understand how much being a parent is a part of your life. It's not necessarily your final form.
Yeah, absolutely. You can be Raven as well as being dad.
Joke about the back of your hair without
Of
neglecting
course.
your child in
Does
any
my
way,
bum
shape
look
or
big
form.
in this? Exactly, joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your favourite song to sing to Tibbs, or do you have a song like that's your song to Tibbs?
Yeah, we have a song that goes clean as a whistle, clean as a whistle, and it is just
I love that.
after
Did you
her
make it up
nappy.
yourself?
Yeah, I seem to be like singing a lot of Chim Chimney, Chim Chim Cheroo. It's come out of, it's so funny what you are recalling from like jolly noise
Funny
in
that
your
maybe
life.
one day
what
in our...
comes to you?
It's just coming out
Yeah.
of nowhere, and I'm like Chim Chimney. I'm doing
That's
a lot
gonna
of
be our daddy-daughter dance.
A lot of that. Yeah, a lot. She loves it.
What's an unexpected item that you've used the most?
Oh, I don't know.
Snot sucker.
Yeah, maybe the snot sucker, actually. I love using that. She hates it.
There
but
is
it's very
nothing
satisfying.
more. This is, I think, so much like you think that you're going to have all these icks when you become a parent, like changing a nappy. You'll be like, oh, that's disgusting. Snot sucking,
A
where
next
you
level satisfaction.
the satisfaction I get when I get
Yeah.
a big bogey out of Winnie's nose. I've actually resorted to using tweezers, little plastic tweezers,
Yeah.
to just nip it right out.
Yeah.
Top
Love it.
tips here.
For those that aren't in the absolute throes of newbornhood and don't know what a snot sucker actually is, technical term is nasal aspirator. Can you give us a little lowdown of what that actually is?
Yeah, so probably this is again one of those things you probably don't know before you're a parent, but when newborns in that first sort of year, I think there's a stat like you get about 10 colds in that time. So having a little one that's super snotty and is unable to blow their nose can become a little bit of a problem. So the nasal aspirator is really good because it literally just clears their airways out basically and sucks that snot straight out, which when you've got a baby in the middle of the night struggling to feed because if they've got a blocked nose they can't suck on a bottle or latch to a breast, then it's really helpful.
And it does help with the newborn grunting through the night, because that's another thing that no one warned me
they can
for.
be quite noisy
It's
sleepers.
the noises that newborns make. I thought, well, I've gave birth to a warthog that is in a cot next to me. So yeah, I've found that the snot sucker definitely helps with that.
Yeah. I find myself cataloguing the grunts, and I was like, is that an awake grunt or is that in
Is this
sleep
active
grunt?
sleep?
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah, is she coming out? Is she getting up or is she going back down?
That does link us round to our confessional booth, where we welcome our guests into our confession booth and you tell us a funny story. If you've got any experiences now with Tibbs, what's something funny that's happened
To
recently?
confess
that might on paper not technically be the best parenting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So she has a birth certificate. You can go anywhere inside the state of Mexico on the birth certificate, but you can never leave Mexico. She can never leave it. So we went to the coast for a couple of nights. And I was like, babies can go in the sea. I'm sure that's fine. So we had she was wearing like a full UV.
How old was she at this point?
6 weeks.
Okay.
It's
Silence from Midwife Lily.
The thing is, I wasn't like, she can go underwater. Anyway, I took her in the sea. No, I know.
I'm concerned with
I had a
offending.
Google afterwards.
Where's this going?
Yeah. I took her in the sea and we were like having a little splish splash. And then a wave went in her eyes.
Oh.
Yeah. But
But
there's a
Daddy's
lot.
there to
It's like
to
exposure
save her.
therapy to the sea. You're going to
There's
love it.
a lot of salt in seawater.
Antimicrobial.
And her eyes were like, "Nyeh," and she was like, yeah.
Aw.
And some part of me just decided that I should lick her eyes.
Instinct.
Eyeballs or
fresh
eyelids?
water.
Eyeballs or eyelids?
Just sort of just like a
Generic.
yeah, just like a big paint stroke across
Yeah.
her
I
eyes.
mean, what a lovely little instinct there.
That's what happened for me,
Yeah.
and that is now outside of the vault. And then I was like, oh, she kind of smells of spit, and we went and had a shower. But in the moment, I was like, spit's safer than salt than seawater.
And she stopped crying, did she? I guess
She
was even more shocked. No,
No, she's such a little potato. She wasn't crying anyway, but I could tell that she was like, there's something
She
in
was
my
shocked,
eye.
yeah.
And she actually really liked being in the shower, and it was only after we had the shower that I Googled.
Yeah, I
Is it
seen
safe
the
to put your baby in a shower? And turns
really
out,
cute
yes.
video that you'd uploaded.
Yeah.
In the shower with her, because you never had a bath, so she was having showers?
They lent us a bath. So we had a bath, and I would just say putting a baby... People are like, oh, the babies smell so great and bathing them is so great, but babies smell so great.
They smell so good.
And bathing them, because I think it is kind of womb-like to put them in the water. She was blissed out when she was
loving
in the
it.
bath.
Yeah. On bath times, like, if you got any generic tips, like how are we approaching bath time? How often are we bathing babies? Can we use certain gentle shower gels? Is it better just to bath them in water? What's like some top tips for us bathing our babies?
Well, firstly, it's, again, like everything, completely child dependent. If you've got a particularly sicky baby, they can get that all around their creases in their neck and things, and you might want to bath your baby a little bit more than somebody that hasn't got that. It can be a really lovely bonding time. There's lots of benefits actually about mental health in adolescence and growing up between babies that are bathed by their dads and have that nice routine. So that's a really nice thing. Hop in the bath with her, have a bit of skin to skin. Natural products is best. Using things that are gentle on the skin is really, really important.
And so have you, now that you're back, I suppose you're only just freshly back yet, so I don't suppose you have did that first proper bath time with Tibbs in the house. Have you did it yet? No. That's something to look forward to.
I asked my husband to take her in the shower this morning. He said no.
Yeah.
So she
It's his
smells like a
prerogative.
plane at the moment.
Yeah. We need to wash that plane off.
Yeah, I think I was worried about overwashing her, and then you just get on TikTok. No, I mean whatever, wherever you go.
But until they start moving around and things, they're not, getting dirty like kids. You don't have to wash them as much. It's really good for their skin to sort of leave them be as much.
The funniest thing about the bath is, like, the bath isn't how she gets clean. You clean her and then she goes in the bath. It was like, do her eyes, do her bits, and then put her in the tub of water. But that's kind of superfluous. It's not to clean her off. It's just for her to, like...
Do you know what? That's a really good point, actually. Bath time, what a lovely way for stimulation and for sensory play for a baby as they grow up, especially like in the winter when you're at home and you've not got much to do.
Yeah. Winnie absolutely loves the bath. I have so many toys in that bath that she hasn't got a scooby what's going on. She's only 4 months old, and I'm like, look at your whale that spurts water out of it. But I do think building those foundations now is so nice, because when she does grow up when she's like 4 months, but when she does get a wee bit bigger, it will be nice to have that little bonding time with each other.
One of the things I thought would be really weird is constantly having to monologue to someone who is not talking back.
But it's amazing for the development. It's amazing for the development. Is that something you can touch on, Lily?
Oh my gosh,
to chat to them.
The chat, the eye contact, the connection.
Yeah, even just you narrating what you're going through your day. Good morning. We are now going downstairs.
And someone was saying to me, you have to do it you have to be like, I'm in the other room at the moment and I'm looking for that book we're going to read together in a minute. Like, you're just saying what you're doing.
Yeah, and it seems pretty crazy, but it's actually amazing for their development. Yeah. So you're in the other room, you're getting books now, you're back in London, so you're not in this Mexico bubble that you were in. You're technically now back in another bubble now that you're back in reality. So how do you think that's going to be over the next few months?
I can't wait. Honestly, we've been desperate to show her off. And we haven't, WhatsApp hasn't quite scratched the itch. We will be taking her on a grand tour of, friends and family. She's probably going to get a cold, isn't she?
Yeah.
But we're going to try and do as many people as possible. Her grandparents are gasping to meet her. My parents came out day 10 and my mum feels like she's missing out. So do you know what I mean?
So you had visitors come out to Mexico to meet her?
My mum and my stepdad came on day 10 and they were there for about 10 days. And I can tell you, day 10 to 20, there's not a lot to do with a newborn. You just I was like, no, she's going back to sleep now.
They sleep so much. It's like, what is it, about like 16 hours a day the average on sleep at the beginning, Lily?
My goodness, constantly.
It's like wake up, eat,
almost
be asleep
like
during the feed.
Every couple of hours, really, they're then looking at that next nap, aren't they?
Yeah. And the older they get, the more the wake windows need to be more engaged. That's where I'm at just now. My wake windows are engaging with Winnie. I'm from station to station, we change. We're on a playmat, and the next minute she's on her beanbag and I'm reading her a book, and then we're back to the playmat.
Someone said to me it's okay for your baby to be bored, and that was really a relief for me.
To teach them to be content and that they don't need to be stimulated all the time. There's this new trend just now that a lot of people aren't letting people meet their babies until 2 weeks. They want to take those 2 weeks to themselves to really just soak up the baby bubble, get into a routine as this new normal that they've got. For any of our listeners, Lily, can you advise the best way to kind of approach like establishing those boundaries? Because I do think with grandparents, they're so excited to meet the baby, but this is your experience. This is the first time, maybe the second time that you're doing it, that you just want to protect this wee bubble that you're in. So is there a good practice to approach this, or do you just need to be so honest and just say, listen, no visitors for now, this is our time?
I think you can have an idea of what you want before, and you can set those expectations and those boundaries, and you can add the caveat that you might change your mind. Because who knows until you've been through that birth and you've had that newborn and you've figured each other out, whether actually you might want their help. Be clear, but it's okay to change your mind. If you need that support, if you need them to come around and cook dinner, let them know what you need from them.
I think that's great advice, to not be too stuck in your ways. When I first had Winnie, I've got a social media following, and I thought, I'm not going to show her face. I don't want anyone to see her. I don't want anyone knowing anything about her. For 3 months, I'm taking time off. And then as soon as she was here, I was like, I need everyone in the world to see this perfect, beautiful baby. I need everyone to know about her. And it's funny because beforehand, I was very strong in that. And then I felt almost a bit embarrassed that I'd changed so quickly, but just kind of giving myself
that's
the
your
grace to say,
though, you can do what you want. It's your baby, and that's the same with motherhood in general.
Absolutely.
When I had the baby, I was like, I'm probably not going to go on Instagram for a few months, which obviously was on it the next day.
Exact same as
like,
me.
what a great time for a digital detox. And I was like, what's everyone else doing?
There's never more time that you're going to be sat on your phone while you're doing
slow
like
down so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to touch on baby reflexes. I know you find Tibbs really endearing and cute. I personally find them terrifying because when Winnie has a reflex, she wakes herself up and she's startled. So it could be like 3 a.m. and she's having a great sleep, but she startles and then she's awake. So I just wanted to touch on, I suppose, just more like the medical side of that and what actually is the reflexes.
Yeah, so the startle reflex is just that. They might be startled by sound, by movement, and it is like that. You can see them doing it. There's the sucking reflex, which is obviously the first one that they go on to use. That reflex you said before, Tibbs was grabbing your finger when she first came out. And
is
also,
that not just one of the best when they grip on your finger?
And you feel so special.
Oh, I love it. I'm like, they're holding on to me so tight.
Yeah, that's a reflex.
Just on that little finger hold, that is just my favourite thing that Winnie does. I love it. And if I could bottle that up, I would. If you got a moment, Raven, that you could just bottle up from the 13 weeks of Tibbs' life so far?
Yeah, that's really difficult without saying the moment she was born, which feels kind of trite. I think one of the things I like most right now is if I go, ooh, 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 she is really trying to do it back.
What a clever girl.
I can hear her going, like moving her face
moving her
into the
mouth.
shape.
You're
going to
go home today and she's going to say, hi Dad, how was work?
Yeah.
What a clever
So
clogs.
Richard, my husband, would just hear me being like, ooh, ooh, all round the Airbnb, he could hear me.
What was Tibbs' first words? It was, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I know. I was like, if she says Dad first, which one of us has she chosen?
Do you know what? That was one of my questions I wanted to ask you. Are you both going to be called dads? How are we going to differentiate?
It's just completely up to her.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just see what she comes out with. Richard keeps calling himself Pappy because we've been in Mexico.
Yeah.
But I think she's probably going to say Dad first.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that.
Oh, well, that was brilliant, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Lily, thank you so much for your expert advice. I honestly do think that I've learned a lot today. Like, I'm going to leave here feeling like a better mum. So thank you for that. And thank you very much, Raven, for coming on, because that's such an interesting story. And I think there's so much more power in knowing all the different avenues to becoming a parent, and just to circle back on this theme that there is no normal to parenthood. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of Parents You've Got This. You can find Tommee Tippee on Insta, TikTok and YouTube. Just find us in the link in the description box below. And do check out Tommee Tippee's website. They've got advice for parents, amazing products, ones that I personally use day to day. And I'm very excited to say, exclusively for our podcast listeners, you can get 15% off at TommeeTippee.com. So at checkout, use code You've Got This 15 to get your discount. You've got this and we've got you. Join us next week on Parents You've Got This, where we're joined with influencer and mum Emily Blackwell. We're going to talk all about birth plans and whether there's any point in them.